In today's session, we're going to continue on the series on achieving breakthrough improvement. And this week's session is talking about identifying the system constraints. So when we look at the five focusing steps we talked about last week, we're going to deep dive into identifying the system constraints. So at this point, the operation should be stable, meaning we can predict for each order that comes in when we're going to deliver that to the customer. We want 99% reliability on that, and we know where our internal capacity constrained resource is. So now, how do we identify the constraint? So we want to start establishing that continuous improvement program. The first step is to identify the constraint. So when we look at the organization holistically, either the constraint's going to be internal to the organization or it's going to be external to the organization. So remember our chain analogy. There's only one weakest link in the chain. That weakest link determines the performance of the system. And so it's important that we identify where is that weakest link. So first step, is it external or is it internal? So when we look at the internal constraint, what are the characteristics of an internal constraint? So one, there's more customer demand than there's capacity in the organization. So sales are coming in at a faster rate than the organization can deliver to the customers. So what we're going to see is the demand increasing at a faster rate than we can ship the product to the customer or deliver the product to the customer. So the backlog of work is increasing steadily over time. The next characteristic of an external constraint, because there could be two considerations here. One, there's more capacity in the organization than there's customer demand. So sales are coming in at a slower rate than the organization can deliver to the customers. The backlog of work is decreasing. But we can also have an external constraint with our suppliers. So don't forget about your supply chain. So there's more customer demand than the suppliers can deliver to the organization. So sales are coming in at a faster rate than the suppliers can deliver to the organization. And the backlog of work is increasing and the supplied inventory is decreasing. So where is that external constraint? Is it in sales or is it in the supply? It's important to identify that. So next, what are the indicators that can be used to identify the constraints? So we're going to look at lead time. So lead time is the key characteristic, key performance indicator we want to look at. So when the demonstrated lead time, so that's your ability to actually deliver, not what you're promising to the customers, not what the salespeople are promising to the customers, but our demonstrated lead time. So when we receive an order, when did we ship that order? So tracking the time that we receive the order till we ship the order is your demonstrated lead time. And of course, that's going to be different for different products, but we want to look at the value streams and understand the demonstrated lead times within those value streams. So when the demonstrated lead time to deliver is increasing, the constraint is either internal or in the supply base. When the demonstrated lead time to deliver to the customers is decreasing, the constraint is in sales. So what leading indicators? So leading indicators, remember, are forward-looking indicators that tell us what's happening. So we want to be monitoring the constraint at all times because it's extremely important to understand where to focus. And so when we look at those leading indicators, what we want to do is look to bookings to shipment ratio. So each week or each day, you're monitoring how many bookings did we have and how many shipments did we have for that day or that week. And so if we look at that ratio, when the bookings to shipment ratio is trending up, meaning sales are coming in at a faster rate than we're shipping to the customer, delivering to the customer. So in that case, the constraint is probably moving internal or into the supply chain. When the bookings to shipment ratio is trending down, sales are coming in at a slower rate than shipments. So then the constraint is moving into sales. So this is an early indicator when your constraint's going to shift. That bookings to shipment ratio is a key metric that we want to be monitoring at all times to determine when the constraint's about to shift, because the actions to take to improve an internal constraint are totally different than the actions to improve an external constraint. So next week's session, we're going to talk about the details on how to determine how to exploit the constraint. And when we have an internal constraint, how do we exploit? When we have an external constraint, either in sales or in the supply base, how do we exploit that? So that's our session for today. Thanks for joining.